How's it going? Thanks for downloading the show. Welcome to Garden Fork Radio. It's eclectic DIY. My name is Eric, your host. I have this podcast and a YouTube channel also called Garden Fork. And I have a list of stuff. I don't know if I'll fit all of it into one show, but I'm literally watching this right now on YouTube. There is a channel called Pak Mechanics. That's short for Pakistan or Pakistani mechanics. I do have some friends who are Pakistani and some that are from Bangladesh, which are right next to each other, but they don't always get along, so don't confuse them. I've learned this. But I have a number of accounts on YouTube, and one of them is just dedicated to deep DIY repair stuff. And I watch these guys that rebuild tanks. It's called Mr. Hughes, Mr. MR, and then Hughes, Hewes. And that's how I met Bob, tank driver Bob, or telephone lineman Bob, who was doing well with his novel, by the way. Anyway, the YouTube algorithm, which every once in a while works, rarely, suggested these whack thumbnails of a truck in Pakistan with a broken axle, usually, or a broken tire. And they're either done in Photoshop or AI. I can't quite tell. They're a little dramatized, but they repair trucks with the most rudimentary of tools. And I've talked about this before, on a highway or in the middle of an intersection. And this time, what blew me away, as there's always they shoot the whole thing with an iPhone, which I love. Simple and it works. Don't feel like you have to have a $1,000 camera to start your YouTube channel with. But there's a guy sleeping next to the truck, and he's like 3 feet from the road, the traffic. I mean, he's sleeping, if the truck is broken, he's sleeping off the back end of it, just on the ground with like a mosquito net over him. Like it's nothing. The guy who's panning the camera, there's this guy sleeping in this mosquito tent, and then there's the broken truck, and there's all this traffic. And it's just so different than I think most of us are living in the Western world that are listening to the podcast. I mean, if there's a truck breakdown on the road, there's at least one truck, probably a emergency responding vehicle with, the flashing lights and cones and flares. And they show up with one of these beater little, they're these neat little Japanese trucks. I'm presuming they're made in Japan. I really want one, by the way. And they offload a couple of jack stands and maybe a bottle jack and some hand tools. And they take the whole rear axle off the truck. We would have like air compressor tools. And here comes the ad for the Polar Breeze air conditioner with the secret that no one wants you to know about. This incredible invention was built by 2 engineers for NASA. We're going to skip that. I'm watching the Pak Mechanics while I talk to you. Anyway, what I love is just how beautifully designed or decorated the trucks are. And I think is there a religious overtone to that? Maybe. There's just a beauty there of these it's kind of a upbeat designs with flowers and little icons and stuff, and a lot of like hanging balls and stuff, for the lack of a better word. But yeah, check that out. PAK Mechanics. It'll skew your algorithm. But what's not to like about that, So if you watched any of the videos, you've probably seen the porch that is on the side of our little house up in the woods. And it is a wooden porch in the woods, and it's surrounded by trees, so it likes to rot. And as part of the painting the house project, will be probably be a 2-year project, 2 summers, basically. We decided to start on the side porch because it's in bad shape. And we've started scraping it. And when your scraper kind of goes through the wood, then you know that wood is punky. I call it punky or bad, rotted. And that should be replaced. And on a lot of them, I did this several years ago, and the bottoms of a lot of them were rotted because that's where the snow builds up, or with the wind. I mean, the rain drips down and then hugs the bottom of the wood and rots. And the last time I did it, I cut like the bottom 10 inches off of any of them that needed to be repaired. And I cut that at a 45-degree angle such that when we put the repair piece in, the rain would not seep into the cut. I'm going to put caulk across it, but if it leaks or something, if you cut it at an angle, the water's forced to drip out of any cut that it gets into, like a little roof, like the little peak of a little roof, basically. And I was starting to take off this old rotted wood, and I have quite a bit of spare wood for the porch from the last time I did it. I bought extra from the sawmill down the road, which is the greatest thing to have in the world in your town, is a sawmill. And it uses rough cut board and batten. That's what the siding is called, at least in our New England town. So, okay, now they're going down the highway with no seatbelts and a golf cart. Anyway, I had this aha moment that we've been scraping, and each time to get one of these boards off, the board self-destructs, the boards next to them take a hit. And I think, at least for the part of the porch that faces the garage, that bears the brunt. Our weather comes from the west, like the jet stream in America, basically. Most of your weather comes from the west. And that wall bears the brunt of the snow the snow building up, the drifting up onto it, or rain. And I thought, I'm just going to replace them all. And it will be faster and better, because what I've learned from redoing the clapboard on my house is you have raw pine. There's cedar clapboard on the house, of course, which is much better. But the porch is made out of rough cut pine. I use the Kills primer sealer, and I use the kind that says Bond Coat on it, which is not cheap. And it has an incredible petroleum smell to it. So you need to wear your organic vapor mask and work outside or in a garage with the doors open. And you prime the front and the back of the piece of wood, the siding that you're going to put in. And you prime the cut edges as well. So you make your cuts, you dry fit it to make sure it fits, take it out, and then take it up to the garage and soak the heck out of it with this Bond Coat, which is a shellac-based primer sealer, and it's white. Make sure you stir up the tint. It's like stirring up the jelly at the bottom of a jar. Mix the heck out of it with a stir stick. Be careful if you use a little drill-based stir, because it might splash out. The stuff isn't cheap, but all the cedar clapboard, I painted the front and the back that I replaced, and it has lasted forever. It's just a huge aha moment. And the boards that I replaced on the side porch a couple years ago that I painted in the front and the back of, they are rock solid. They look almost brand new. So yeah, that's kind of a takeaway of if you're working with wood and going to replace some wood. My garage is also board and batten, and the west side of it has the bottom 1.5 feet has really taken a toll. And that's the side of the house that you don't see that side of the garage unless you physically walk over there. It's right along the property line, and it's a bunch of trees there. So again, we're holding moisture in and leaves and stuff like that. And that, I'm not going to replace the board and batten. What I'm going to do is buy probably Trex or a version of I call it like Xerox's photocopy, so a plastic lumber that's used for decking, outdoor decking, and it has the little notch in it, lapped. It has a lap joint in it. I'll probably put in 3 courses of that. It depends on how wide I buy it, because that's not a decorative building. You're not really going to, it's the building's tinted a light brown. I think they sell it in dark brown, that decking. And I'm just going to go along the whole side of that part with that. And that will be kind of a forever fix, because at about 1.5 feet up, all the boards are in good shape. So I could just cut them, and I'll cut that bottom part at an angle so that any water that gets down to the bottom of the wood drips out. I might even put flashing. I will put flashing between the cut edge and the new decking. A drip edge, that's what it's called. So that was another aha moment after staring at something for 10 years going, what am I going to do about this? The next step, which is going to sound nuts, because if you've seen the garage, it's surrounded by woods and stuff, is I'm sick of mice in my garage. And the mice have tried to get into both our cars. My Subaru is on the way out the door, basically. The expense of fixing it is too much than what the car is worth. I think I got all the mice out of that, and then I forgot to spray the mint spray one weekend, and they got back in. And now I've found acorns in the engine compartment of the Nissan Rogue that we own, and I found acorns in the front. It's called a frunk. It's the electric Volkswagen. So that's where the air conditioner heat pump is. And I found there's several flat parts there that there's mouse droppings and acorns. And that is a huge red flag with those cars, because after dealing with that with the Subaru, that vintage of Subaru is kind of a porous vehicle. The newer cars, they're much better about that. But still, the wiring in these new cars is, the insulation is soy-based, and the mice will eat that. So suffice to say, if I put this Trex along the side, and there's some problems in the back as well, I'm going to try and seal up the garage. And that may sound nuts, but it might make for a good video or two. And, I don't want to put the rat poison bait out there, because we have owls and hawks in our yard. There's a barred or bared owl in our yard who makes this kind of whistly sound at night. They don't just go hoo 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 hoo. They also have this kind of whistly sound as well. Oh, we could talk about birding. I'll have to get the camera operator on to talk about birding. I'm going to write that down. But check out Badgerland Birding on YouTube. They're really great. So I've been putting out, traditional mouse traps, which seem to be the only thing that seems to work. The electronic ones work, and then they stop. But I have to be on top of reducing the rat population nonstop and redoing the gaskets on the garage doors. I redid them a while ago, and I made a video about that. And by the way, the rain doesn't blow under them anymore, so that's really nice. But on the edge, you can clearly see where there's a gap that a mouse could get in. And that it may be nuts to try and do this, but I could at least reduce the points of entry for mice. And then the next step after that is I actually bought one for the Volkswagen, because it was in the middle of winter. I just parked that in the garage, and I drive the Rogue, just because the battery loss of efficiency of the battery is kind of a pain, because I have to drive 300 miles a weekend with it. So I noticed some mouse droppings under the front hood. So I got this battery operated LED blinky flash thing that also puts out a ultrasonic sound, and it's battery operated, and it suggests that you strap it under the hood of your, the engine compartment. So in the front of the Volkswagen, that's the air conditioning compartment. But nonetheless, And I cabled it in, and then I was like, oh, I have one of those, because I saw the mouse droppings and the acorns in the Volkswagen. I'm like, where's the blinky, flashy thing? And it was gone. And I had cable tied it to the hood, the metal hood of the front. And I'm like, did it bounce around enough that on the sharp metal edges, the cable ties wore out and the thing fell out? It's a $28 gizmo. And by the way, if you're thinking about, it's not good to have with the dogs in the car, the device has a motion sensor in it. And so when you start driving, the ultrasonic part of it turns off, which I thought was pretty cool. So I'm going to buy a battery, like a AA battery operated one for the Volkswagen. For the Rogue, which is a gas car, I'm going to buy one that hooks up to the battery. I could maybe get the hardwired one for the Volkswagen as well, because it does have a 12-volt battery to keep the computer in that running. I'm going to look on there's a website for the Volkswagen at like a forum. It's called ID4 Forum, maybe. Anyway, this is all to keep rodents out of my tools. I'm tired of mouse droppings on the workshop, and like there on my welder, I pulled my MIG welder out I'm making a grate for a drain. And of course I welded the whole thing together and it didn't fit. But yeah, I mean, what do you do besides the mint spray to keep them out of your car? I'm going to buy, and then they make a bigger ultrasonic blinky gizmo to keep them like out of your garage. And I thought I could get that, it's a plug in the wall thing, and have that sitting on my workshop bench, maybe, or pointed at the workshop bench. But then I'm worried about the dogs come up, because if I'm in the garage, they come up and want to see what I'm doing. Maybe I could have it on a timer that it only runs, from 8 at night to 7 in the morning, because I'm rarely in the garage at those times. So I don't know. A lot of thinking out loud here. Who knew what Eric was going to talk about when you're like, oh yeah, it's a new garden fork. Let's listen to that. I know you're talking back at the podcast, so it's gardenfork87@gmail. Kent, longtime listener, supporter, who's going to be on the show, and we're going to talk about the right to repair, specifically about John Deere tractors. He has several very large ones. I have one small one. His cost 6 figures, I think. Mine was on sale. Anyway, but he has it's called Grandpa Joe's Mouse Deterrent. I'm bastardizing the name, but I saw that on Amazon the other day and thought of him. That spray is also tempting as well. It's just the having to constantly spray that is a challenge for me. And if I can have something automatic, I would like that. Speaking of automatic, I'm making a video about it. Well, I made a video. Your motion sensor outdoor floodlights. I have a motion sensor light in the garage, and it was an older outdoor light, and I stuck it in the garage. So when you pull the cars in, it turns on. The motion sensor breaks all the time, and I'm trying to age in place and future-proof a lot of the stuff in my house. And those sensors are a pain to replace. That's up in the air usually, right? It's 6 feet up on a wall or on the ceiling, or even higher if you got it at the peak of the roof or something. So I bypass those, and I put in LED bulbs that have a built-in motion sensor. Did that work? You're going to have to watch the video. Maybe that will come out this week. And you will know if it comes out because you subscribe to the Garden Fork newsletter, right? gardenfork.tv. Just sign up there. There'll be a link here in the show notes of the podcast. But gardenfork.tv. Just go there, and there's like a subscribe button somewhere on every page of that thing. Yeah. Wow, that was a lot. Just go from mice to motion sensors. Oh, what's that called? repair. I'm repairing the porch. The porch I'm looking forward to because it'll look a lot nicer and I think motivate me more to like, wow, let's get this going to the rest of the house. You know, I think that's good. Tangent here. The hypnotherapy app thing is going very well. The Harmony one that I like, it has a bunch of different sessions you can pick, maybe 2 or 3 sessions on that one topic, but you can repeat the sessions and it works for me. The gentleman there calls it meditation hypnotherapy, meditation hypnosis, which I think is interesting because when I've seen my hypnotherapist, it's an hour and a half long, and these are 16 to 20 minutes long. So yeah, it's going well. It's called, the one with the weight loss specific, which I'm also using, is called One Leaf. And then the one that has a bunch of different topics that you can create playlists of is called Harmony Hypnotherapy app. And then One Leaf I like as well because they have very deep dives on a specific subject. I think one is anxiety, fear of flying, a couple of phobias, stuff like that. So I am a big fan of watching YouTube. I just love watching other creators do stuff. An ad did come up that actually looked interesting, and it was a tool that fixes bent door hinges. And if your door is sticking, especially if it's sticking and rubbing the frame at the top, if your hinges are on the left, it'll be rubbing on the top right, or it might be dragging on the bottom right, dragging on the floor. Your hinges are probably bent. And you can, everyone, I put in new screws and tightened it up. But over time, especially on heavier doors, the tabs of your hinge, that where the pin goes through, those are bent. There's a guy called The Funny Carpenter on YouTube. Type in door hinge repair. It's very good. You learn all about it. But you basically pull the top pin out, shim the door back into place on the bottom right. You can check the gap on the right. If the hinges are on the left, you can look at the gap on the right-hand side of the door, and you want it even from top to bottom. And you've pulled the pin out of the top one, and then you can put a vice grip on there and bend the hinge tabs, the tabs that are connected to the door frame. You can bend those back into place, and then you lift the door up a little bit, drop the pin back in, and it's amazing. It's like it takes about a minute to do. But to grab the little knobby parts of the hinge plate, the plate is there on the jamb, and then there's the round parts where the pin goes through. To grab those with a vice grip or an adjustable wrench can be a little difficult. The one door I worked on is a highly decorative door here in our brownstone with 120-year-old trim, and I was starting to get close to banging the trim with the pliers because they're so big. So they sell this on YouTube. I saw an ad for one, it was probably, the special door hinge repair tool. I'm like, they sell these on Amazon, and they sell them for $6. It's called the door hinge repair tool or bending tool. You can get a kit where it has all sorts of different doodads, but there's a $6 one on there. And that is worth having in your toolbox. You're not going to use it every day, but maybe once a year, you're going to come across a door that the bottom is dragging, doesn't close. And as soon as I fix this door, which is a beautiful door, it started to close again. It would latch, and you didn't have to push the door closed. Pretty cool, huh? All right. That's plenty to think about. And then you're going to email me with your ideas. The mouse ideas, door hinge ideas, all that stuff, right? And then you're going to watch Pak Mechanics, and we can talk about that. Gardenfork87 is the email address. Big favor, there is a shortage of blood right now. I got an email about that. redcrossblood.org, or check with your local hospital. Not everyone can donate. Sometimes people just kind of go sideways after donating and just need to rest for a couple hours. But hydrate. 3 days before, start drinking extra water. And yeah, thanks for listening. It's always good to hear from you guys. Make it a great day. I'll see you. Garden Fork Radio is produced by Garden Fork Media LLC in Brooklyn, New York. The music in the show is licensed from audioblocks.com and uniquetracks.com.